Aijha, I guess obviously tough week last week. What have you been working on this week, and how ready are y'all to just get back on the court and play a game?
Definitely a lot of shooting and a lot of post defense. I feel like Asia and Dre did a great job of battling last weekend. We obviously have a lot to work on when it comes to that area, but just continuing to work on that part and knocking down shots because they're there, they're open. There's nothing that defenses are really doing to like stop it. It's just us knocking it down that needs to be worked on. But we're really excited for these games that are coming up, this game that we're about to play, just to get back on top, get back on the winning side, and yeah, progress from there.
Aijha, have you seen a response from the team? What sort of response have you seen from the team after dropping a couple games?
I think everybody just wants to get back on the right page. I think we're practicing way harder. We taking those losses to heart, but I mean also having like short term memory. Like you got to have that moving forward. Remembering the losses, why we lost, but just practicing hard. Honestly, that's what I've been seeing in everybody's eyes. To be honest.
Aijha, is there a better time to have a longer break because you get to work on all the stuff, or is it worse because you're just sitting in the loss for a week?
I think it's both a little bit. You want to play. A lot of games throughout the week, but also that needed rest is also like we're grateful for that. But it's a little bit of both. A little bit of both.
Aijha, I noticed one of the starters for UCF. I think you played with her at Missouri, Kelly.
Yeah.
6'3".
Mm-hmm.
Does that extra motivate you, or y'all still friends? Or talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that's my best friend. She's been my friend for a long time now. I don't know. I just when we step on the floor together, I mean, it's gonna be business regardless. It's gonna be game plan, putting the game first. That is my friend though, but yeah, she know when it comes to that, it's just that.
So I'm curious, will you talk to her when they get to town today, or will you see her at the game? How's that work?
I don't think I can go to their hotel, but I'm
Good.
right. I'm texting her a lot, just asking her about how she's been, stuff like that.
Is there any trash talk?
Oh, for sure, for sure, for sure.
Aijha, without giving anything away, what are some answers for post defense?
I think right now we just really working on like just the techniques. Like, of course, like we're a little undersized when it comes to certain post players, but we're working on like our quick moves, how to get around, and just their help from the guards. We're working on a lot of that, so you're just gonna see it flow over to the game.
Has there been a big emphasis on rebounding for tomorrow? I noticed they're a very good rebounding team.
For sure. We've been rebounding a lot in practice and really focusing on that. You hear Coach Nicki yelling it a lot in practice. Rebound, whether you're a guard, post. But, yeah, rebounding would be key for these next two games.
Jada, when you talk about the post defense, I know, you all play a role out on the perimeter. It's all aligned. What do you see as guards? Do you see your role in just kind of setting things up defensively even before it gets into the post?
Yeah, really. Coach Tony really harps on like ball pressure, and that's really my main job, making it difficult for the point guard to start the offense and even get the ball to certain people to get it into the post. So if we do our job denying passes and creating havoc for their guards to even want to throw it in or want to dribble, I feel like that would take a lot of pressure off of Dre and AB in the post. Even though they're doing a great job handling it, it would just make it even better. And then help side too, also coming over to help when they make certain moves, so they can't just turn certain ways. There's people that are bigger, taller, but we can handle it. We obviously can handle it, but it just takes some improvement, and we've been working on that in practice, so I feel like we'll be fine this next game.
Jada, is there a feeling of being refreshed after a week off, being back at home after traveling those 2 games in a row?
Definitely. We were in some cold weather, so really just trying to get through that, get through the winter games, play through that, and then just to come back to warmer weather and refresh, regroup, go back to the drawing board, figure out what went wrong and fix it, and then improve so that that doesn't happen in the next game.
In terms of the post defense, I mean, y'all did have some success against Utah, and then obviously Oregon had some size. Does that kind of come up in kind of the game plan, and maybe you can just kind of review, what happened last 2
Yeah, I know me and Dre personally, we were talking about the Oregon game and how well of a job we did with those post players, and they're like 6'8". I don't know how tall they were, but they were way taller than us. And we were just talking to each other like, let's kind of like look at that game and like let's see what we did well and what worked, so we can just carry that over to the next game. So that's one specific game we looked at for sure.
How do you feel that, game against UCF and then you've got Kansas State on Monday, how do you feel that this maybe really sets the tone for the rest of the season for you guys to kind of turn the page off of the road games that y'all had?
I feel like it's really important just focusing in on what we need to do post-wise, because we know Kansas State, obviously, they have a girl that's super tall. So working on that with UCF and the posts that they have, which are still good, we can't underlook them, and make sure our help is on point, are not fouling, putting them on the free throw line, taking good shots so that they can't come down and set their offense up, and then pressuring them, again, denying one pass away, and then fronting the post, doing whatever we have to do to make sure the post doesn't get easy catches and can't score easily. So, yeah.
Jada, what do you see in, I think it's Caitlin Peterson, what do you see in her? She's a big-time scorer for them, maybe 20 points a game or something.
I feel like she's a great guard. We've come across a lot of great guards throughout this conference with my first time being in it. But she's quick. Obviously, if we do our job to cut off driving lanes, deny her the ball, anytime she gets in, just create havoc, like I said, so she can't get going and she can't get it to her post so they can get going, just shutting down every aspect of their offense.
And I know for this team, y'all haven't really played a week in Waco since students have been back from the break. Are y'all is that something that y'all kind of talk about in terms of just like more people coming back, and obviously y'all have been wanting to come back to Waco probably the past week, so I mean, how excited are y'all just to have kind of more fans back in this weekend?
I'm really excited. Today I was just passing out stuff for our media team, and the students are really excited. Like, they already got tickets. I'm like, all right. So they pretty excited, and it's good to see like that fan base and the students be so like in it with us. And it's gonna be good to be back in Foster. It being so loud and so close, everybody so close in the gym. So it's gonna be real good.
Since both of you played in the SEC, I'm curious about this, and you seem excited about the loudness and how this arena's set up.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been in a louder arena than what you experienced when you played TCU here and Houston here? I mean, is that accurate, or you played in louder arenas, or what do you think?
I think this is probably the loudest arena. Well, I would say like probably when I came to play Baylor when I was at Mizzou, that was pretty loud. Like, that was a big stage for me, but yeah.
I feel like since we're on the opposite side of things, like we're on the winning side, so like we were top. Like, everyone wants to beat us. So like when we come to the game, every single game, there's like a lot of fans either booing or cheering for us. But the games are always big, and then the arenas are like closer to where we are, so we can really hear what's going on around us. In SEC, like, our court was kind of far away, so we couldn't really, well, we could, but it wasn't as close and impactful as it is in this conference and in these different arenas that we've played in.
Is South Carolina farther away? I know it's huge, but they have a fan farther away?
Well, the ones that are on the court are kind of close. Like, you can hear everything they say, but like the bleachers, like everyone who's around you, it isn't really super close to where it's like, wow, I can't hear the coach, I can't hear my teammates. I'm just trying to look and see what's going on.
This is a unique situation where you're having to basically travel to your home games. Have y'all gotten used to that, just in terms of, and is it becoming a home facility for you?
Yeah, it feels like it. I mean, it's a little dusty around there, but you still got to get over there. It's becoming a norm. We're trying to get used to it, but I mean, it feels like home, especially when you walk into the arena. You see those lights, and then you see the BU in the middle. So,
All right, what can I answer?
You made a comment yesterday at the luncheon that I thought was pretty interesting. You said that Jada had probably had the two best practices of any player you had seen in a long time. Why was that statement made? I mean, what did she do that's so great, or is she determined or more focused? I mean, elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, I just think, you come off a couple losses and it's really easy to want to be in the gym, but to not kind of have the mojo, wanting, success to bring back that. I mean, you kind of, when you lose, you have a little bit more of a workman-like approach, or you should. And I think it was like you could tell that she wasn't going to take a possession off. And I just felt like her team, and we don't, especially on a break like this, we may put our starters together the day bore a game, but especially when we didn't have a Wednesday game, I'm going to mix them up and challenge them at different positions. And I think she was a good leader of her team. She was vocal. She played really fast offensively. She got a piece of the paint on almost every possession. Like, you could just tell there was a determination about her. And after practice, I'd put my arm around her and said, that was, you had such a good practice. And she said, I've got to be better. I don't want to lose, so I think she took the losses personal, and they certainly weren't on her. But I think she really took the approach of, I want to get back in the gym and get better, as opposed to, I want something to come to me, like she was going to go take it. So I just thought, just from how hard she practiced, how well like when you combine all of the things, that's why I say they really stood out, because she not only made plays, but it was her effort, and sometimes you get great effort and, you don't make plays, so it can not look the same way.
Coach, speaking of those losses, you have an extended period of time. Is it better?
No, it's not better. It's, what? It's not bad as a coach. I mean, I think as a coach, you feel like this is a really good time for us to get back to the basics and do some more fundamentally driven stuff. So, but I think the players, I think it's better for them to get right back on the horse and so I think it's, there's both sides to that, but it's never. I think you get people's attention with a loss, but it's not like you ever want to lose. So you have like both sides of that when you're coaching. I've said it. One of the thoughts for the day was, a coach's hardest job is to get players to do the things that they don't want to do in order to get the results that they want to get. And that's always the challenge of coaching. Even really good players, even really motivated players, to consistently get them to do the drills and the fundamentals that they don't love doing, because it does translate, and it may not translate overnight, but over time, little by little, a little becomes a lot. So, I just think those games were really different. The losses were really different. One, we were ultra competitive. The other one, we were competitive for 2 quarters and not for the next 2. And so, I think from that perspective, when you add up the season and you try to do it not just game by game but quarter by quarter, certainly those 2 quarters against Kansas were probably our worst 2 quarters of the season. And you eliminate one of those and you're still competing. Like, maybe we didn't score as well or make some shots against Iowa State, but we had a 1-point lead with a possession to go. So it wasn't like we didn't put ourselves in position to win the basketball game, despite maybe how we shot the basketball. So I think it's ultimately in this league, it's always going to be a grind, and making plays when they count.
Were y'all still getting the shots you wanted, particularly in the Iowa State game, or was that more?
That I wanted? No, I think that's the challenge against Iowa State, at the balance between understanding what shots they want you to take and the shots that we want to take. And, I think when you break that film down and you recognize that there was rarely a possession where we didn't take a shot with at least 15 seconds to go. And I think it felt like to our girls when we moved it 2 or 3 times and someone was open, that was a good shot. And I think we didn't commit to work for the best shot. because I think Iowa State was obviously very, very scout heavy in terms of who they were going to guard hard, who they weren't going to guard, who they weren't going to rotate to, who they're going to stay home. But the more, I mean, even going down to, they didn't want to leave Sarah, obviously, all game long. But you look at even the late game possession when Jada drove, threw it to Yaya reattacked, Sarah was wide open. Do they want to leave Sarah? No, but when you work the ball side to side and you get them in rotations, eventually you were going to get shots for whoever you wanted to get shots for. And we didn't do a good enough job of attacking the paint consistently. I thought Jada was the only one that really got a piece of the paint. And because of how they guarded her, they rarely came off. So then it was shot as opposed to drive it, touch it, find somebody. They did a good job initial action of, I'm going to stay home on Bella and Sarah. I'm going to leave Dre open. We're going to leave Aijha open. We're going to leave, Bugs open. There are people that they said, the statistics say, let these kids shoot it. We have the best chance to win if we take away the 40% three-point shooters. I think we played into their hand a little bit. It doesn't mean that Dre didn't make a lot of shots. Doesn't mean that Jada didn't make some key plays, and that but ultimately we didn't work to get great shots across the board.
The Iowa State game obviously went right down to the final shot. How much value is there in that, in playing in a game like that for y'all as coaches working with players?
I think you need to win close games. I mean, we've won some, obviously, but we've kind of led, and been in control of a lot of games. And so I think when you're playing one down, then you're playing one down, that you go up one, then you foul, so they go up one. So you have that possession, and then they make their foul shots. So now it's a 3-point game. What do we have in this situation? It's probably the first time they went man all night. Was when we were up 3 to try to take the 3-point shot away. Sarah didn't get her feet under, but I'll tell you, a flare screen to a switch with her being defended by someone not as good that she could shake. It's hard to play downhill in those scenarios and get people to rotate because they're going to stay stretched, when they have to take away the 3. I thought that was a pretty good shot. I thought Yaya turned down a wide open 3 when we were down 1. And then when she attacked, trying to play through Crooks rather than, hey, play off to find an open person, because I think at that point we had broken down the D. So they need to see those things. I think, one of the things we really, really evaluated coming back is the number of games, regardless of the score and regardless of whether we won the game or lost the game, mistakes that we've made end of quarter. And teams make mistakes against us as well. It's not like, we make a mistake and everybody else does it right, but really getting them to understand these opportunities that have been lost to us or put us in poor positions, taking a shot early before halftime against Kansas, allowing them to get the ball, get the momentum going into half. Really, honestly, breaking the analytics down to them on, you've got a 2-point lead, you have the ball, worst case scenario, you take a shot, you're up 2, you go into the half. Best case scenario, you go up 3, 4, or 5, and you take the momentum into the half. So, I think there's been a lot of situations like that where it hasn't burned us, but as of late in these key games, kind of how it can create momentum for the opponent. Hey, in college basketball, unlike in the pros, at the end of the first, second, and third quarter, if they make a basket and there's 33 seconds, you don't have to take the ball out of bounds until the clock goes under 30 seconds so that you can control that whole possession. So as someone that wants our kids to get the ball out quickly all the time, now we've got to learn, okay, but it's the last possession, and this is why I'm yelling, because we don't want to give them the ball back, so kind of really getting them to understand the game and the chess match of why we do what we do, and that really the only time we should be taking an early shot when we have a chance for the last shot as if we've got to steal and a layup in transition. We've got a layup, not a 3-on-2 kick out 3, because that you miss that and then they come down and score. We showed them that against Houston. I don't know if you remember the play, but Jana skipped it in transition. Danae shot faked and got called for a travel. It didn't burn us because they didn't score, but that should have been a last possession, So just trying to continually teach the game so that when we do have games that come down to one possession, that we understand, how all those things add up.
Coach, I know obviously the defense down low, probably a big point of emphasis, especially after last week, but knowing that, Utah had one of the best post players and handled them, and then Oregon even had two of them, knowing that, like, this defense has the ability to guard,
Yeah, I don't know that we guarded Peely. She guarded herself over on the bench. She was pretty effective when she was in the game. I think Peely is super special. I think everyone has a hard time guarding her. And when you play teams like Utah, that if you bring a double, they're going to make a three. You're challenged to say, okay, you can have two, but we're not going to give you a kick out to a three. So I think it's definitely something that we've worked on, that we've really focused on. I think in certain scenarios, there are things you're willing to give up and say, hey, this is why we do what we do. And in other situations, it's like we have to do what we do better. And whether that's taking away a particular shoulder, doing a better job of fronting and showing backside help at times. I think we obviously weren't super effective defending Jackson. A lot of that was on the glass. Crooks, it was more so, just the physicality part of it. And, I think our early foul trouble impacted our ability to do what we wanted to do. Our players got tentative. They weren't getting the whistle. I thought they were doing a good job chesting up and weren't getting the whistle, and then getting whistled against, and so then that takes a little bit of your, intensity, toughness, like willingness to hit first, and you play on your heels. So we've got to do a better job, winning the spots. When we don't win the spot, understanding where are they at on the floor. Do we need to be on top? Can we shove them off the block? What matchups can't we shove off the block? I mean, it's really no different than perimeter defense, who's a straight downhill driver versus who's a shifty kid, and how you move your feet, and, whether you open up or not. So, but we're obviously in a stretch where we had Jackson and Crooks, and we're going to see Aoka Lee and Hannah Gusters, and, you start listing these post players, and part of the best defense we have for them is make them play defense against us, and that's why I say, when it comes to Crooks, it wasn't her 23 points that I thought was the difference in winning and losing. I thought it was our inability to make her less of a factor, or more of a factor, however you look at it, when it comes to us on offense, working against her and taking advantage of the mismatch that we had that looked really, really different. And I thought we did that against Sedona Prince. I thought, yeah, she had a lot of baskets and a lot of one-on-one and finished some, but at the end of the day, we made her like super ineffective defensively by moving, cutting, playing behind her, playing around her, and making, TCU have 4 people guard 5 a lot of the times.
Coach, when you have an opponent like UCF that has one really, really good scorer and then a lot of role players, how do you balance making her the key focus of your defense while not allowing a career day from someone who comes in with 7 or 8 points a game?
Yeah, good question, actually. I mean, I think Peterson has been really efficient. She can score at all 3 levels, but at her best playing downhill, gets to the foul line, takes a bulk of the shots. Shots are up in conference play as well. Really, really good attacker. I think you focus to the point of understanding, where her shots are coming from. And your goal with someone who scores a lot of points is they're probably going to get points, but can you make them inefficient? So your goal defensively against someone like Peterson is like, you're not going to stop her from getting shots. She's really, really fast. I think she's really good in transition, one of the faster players we've played against this year. And just really confident in her ability to score the basketball. So pretty fearless in terms of shot taking. There's some shots she takes that, maybe we don't. But she's certainly capable of making them and has for them. And so it's about understanding, in a ball screen, who's the primary option, and doing a good job making them play to secondary, but not giving their secondary options open shots. Jewett can make open threes if you give them to her. We don't want her to have open threes. We want to give them one shot. We know Aijha is like the best freshman rebounder in the country and is going to get to the glass, and she's going to go every time. She reminds me a lot of Bugs from last year, where it's just opportunistically she's cutting, she's running to the rim, she's getting offensive rebounds. So, and then you've got to do a good job of taking care of the basketball because they can turn you over. They are athletic. They do get out in passing lanes, and so then that allows them to get easy things in transition. So I think, it's always going to be about taking care of the ball to us, but I think in particular against them and how they play and how aggressive they are defensively, I think they create turnovers. I thought our turnovers against Iowa State were pretty self-inflicted, and we're too many, quite frankly, to win that basketball game. So, you have to understand who you're playing against and how they play.
You're talking about turnovers. I was just looking at stats this morning, and this is very unusual. Dre is basically an inside player, but she leads our team in turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
How do you spend time talking to her about that, or you don't want to take her aggressiveness away, or can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, Dre has a huge usage rate, a really high usage rate. And, I don't think players always understand how much you play to them and through them, and there's two parts to that. Most post players, you play to them, you don't play through them, and that's, if they're getting low block catches, it's not like Dre's turning it over on low block catches. She's turning it over in transition. She's turning it over off the bounce, attacking from the perimeter. And I think you don't want to take someone's aggressiveness away from the perspective of her advantage against a lot of the people that guard her is her ability to make perimeter shots and attack off the perimeter. So a lot of people that guard her aren't people that she's going to post up, and so it's about, the conversations with Dre are about making simple plays. She likes to shovel pass. If she would jump stop and bounce pass, what I love about Dre is she sees the rotation. She sees who's open. It's about, the great playmakers, the great point guards, they can deliver the ball on time and on target with the right kind of pass, and so it's understanding okay, if you're going to grab a defensive rebound and start us in transition, you got to know when the wide open, long rim running pass is there and when you need to just advance it up the wing and let somebody else feed it. And so it's sometimes wanting to do something for her team that she's capable of, but maybe isn't her greatest strength, and understanding that we're not trying to take away from your ability to show what you're capable of doing, but also, we have to value possessions. And, there's been games, and this is why there's no absolutes to me in coaching. You look at the Texas game, and she assisted or scored on the first 5 baskets of the game, and if I don't let her handle it and I just tell her to always throw it to a point guard, then, we don't have the versatility to potentially to break down, a really, really good Texas team. But as the game goes along, it's like you build that confidence, and all of a sudden there's a travel on a roll because the rotation comes, and then there's a drive, and it's a pitter-patter of the feet, and then you're coming down in transition in a tight game, and you're trying to thread the needle to Bugs running the floor, who still struggles to catch bounce passes with her mask, And so, it's kind of understanding, what I talked to her about is time and score, not taking your aggression away, but when is it the right play, when is it the right pass. The play to Bugs got through at Texas, but hey, we hadn't scored 3 possessions in a row. This was a time to pull it out, not try to thread the needle and make, a SportsCenter top 10 play, but it's time for us to use 20 seconds, work them, and get a good shot. And so that's what you're doing, you know, and I think as much as Dre's a 6th-year senior, this is her first real year playing for us and doing what we do. So there's still some, like, you know, like I just think she does so many good things for us that you, the minute you start to like squash all the mistakes, you know, I mean, we have to, Yaya makes mistakes too, you know, but if we took her out every time she turned it over, we wouldn't get the downhill plays that, you know, she's gotten for us. So you all turnovers aren't created equal. Turnovers from particular players aren't, you know, like there's just kind of a difference sometimes in like what you not that you're ever okay, but you know what you allow and what you don't, what you try to coach up and teach. All right.